This is an aerial view from the walkout of one of our bedrooms of our crazy garden with all of the morning glories that have grown. My neighbors have gotten clever with theirs and made a little sun porch patio. We've got a big mess, though. The flowers loved the heat. It is pretty, but it's gotten crazy. So today we're going to read a magazine from 1960, and the top books of 1960 included, well, number one on the list was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. And then in the children's books in 1960, Green Eggs and Ham came out, but also by P.D. Eastman, Are You My Mother? Then in 1961, Go Dog Go came out. And then the winner of the 1961 Newbery Award was A Cricket in Times Square by George Selden, and it chronicles Chester Cricket and Friends' adventures. So let's look at the August 1960 Women's Day with this little baby on the cover. With a blue bow to match the blue shirt. And there is a 16-page bonus book of antique furniture in this that we will just leaf through. And of course, this was the summer reading issue. There are 5 stories in here. So just think, whoever this baby was is 64 years old now. I wonder who it was. And there are back-to-school clothes that we will be able to see. The back-to-school clothes of August 1960, and this cost $1. So let's get started. Here we have kind of a back-to-school ad. We see a school bus in the background and a young lady with her purse drinking a Coke and kind of a male hand off to the side drinking a Coke. But it's an ad for Kotex. And then we have an ad for Mom deodorant. Let your skin breathe with new Sheer Mum. It's the only leading deodorant that stops odor without stopping up pores. And you get this 8-piece manicure set with a genuine leather case for only $1. Here's our table of contents. And there was a contest. Enter the Beads O Bleach Carefree Wash Days contest with a grand prize of $10,000 plus any one of these washers. One is a Norge, this one's an Easy, a Calvinator, a Frigidaire, and a Hot Point. And there was the product. This was made by Purex. They were also giving away spring-made sheet sets, Martex towels, Dectoline no-iron shirts, and Swirl Wrap and Tie fashions. They were going to make you work for this contest, though. You had to answer. Well, you had to provide a jingle, and this was being sent to Chicago, Illinois. You had to check which washer that you would want, and then now you're going to have to complete this sentence in 25 words or less. I would use Beads O Bleach in my new washer because. And then you would have to fill it in. This very much reminded me of a book that I love, that I have. And so this magazine's 1960. This book, I think, is set mainly in the 50s. And this was a movie. That's how I first started to know what this even was. In the movie, Woody Harrelson plays the dad, and Julianne Moore plays the mom. And I'm pretty sure this daughter wrote this book. I think she has passed away from cancer. But this lady had 9. There are 9 children pictured, plus there is one in utero. The book is the prize winner of Defiance, Ohio, How My Mother Raised 10 Kids in 25 Words or Less. If you can somehow watch the movie or read the book, it's very easy reading. But this lady, there's the mom, she didn't work. She didn't have a job. She certainly worked raising all these kids. This was in Ohio, so I think the dad had like a job maybe in an automobile plant or a supplier maybe. But she would enter these jingle contests and very much supplemented the family's life with her winnings, with cash and small appliances and all kinds of things. She won a bike for one of the boys. She also won one of those contests that a grocery store would let you bring a cart in and then time you for like 30 seconds or a minute, and you could grab whatever you wanted. This is one of the samples of a maiden form contest that she entered. And she had all different ways to have her name, because it would be one entry per person. So she would enter her kids' names, she would use her initials, she would use Mrs., I think, Leo Ryan. It's a very good movie, and I think I watched it on Independent Film Channel. Obviously, it wasn't a blockbuster, but go ahead and check it out. It reminded me so much of that book. I love it so much. So what would you have answered? I would use beads of bleach in my new washer because, so 25 words or less. I can't think of anything creative to say, but I would definitely mention my kids and superlatives like the cleanest, snappiest clothing in town. Here's a cute ad for Brillo soap pads. Look at this little lady. Brillo soap pads. Beat all for quick cleanups. And this is Prudence Potts, the pan inspector. I've got a little shadow going because it's in the evening. So these are all the things that you could use Brillo soap pads on. And guess what? We still could. Do you have white wall tires that you need to clean? Your husband needn't fuss about road grime or tar. You can go out there and scrub them with a Brillo pad. Barbecue grills and electric cookware. Here's the neighbor section. They would give you $6 if they used your little story about your family or your neighbors. And here we have Mary, Teresa, Loretta, and Michael. And this mom wrote in from Illinois that when she is making her children's clothing for school, she will often make matching book covers out of the fabric that is left over. Isn't that something? The next tip is from Ontario, Canada, and this housewife times her housework. She had 2 little babies under 2, and she says that she can vacuum and dust her living room in 9 minutes, set her hair in 7 minutes. She times everything so she knows exactly how long the job will take to get done with 2 little ones. This lady with 6 youngsters, ages 1 to 9, talks about letting the children put their own laundry away because she has provided them with serving trays that has each of their folded clothing on there, and they can go put them in their dressers. Here's an ad for Bell Telephone Systems. No babysitter needed for this trip across town. And this lady is having a little chat with a friend, and she didn't have to go anywhere or get a babysitter because baby is in the playpen. Thanks to Bell Telephone System, she can just call. At last, a dive-in theater. I don't know how many drive-ins there are anymore. We have a very old one close to us. But this spotlighted a dive-in theater in Georgia that had a big screen to watch a movie with and a pool. Does it show what city it's in? I don't think so. The drive-in was a big deal in this era. The drive-in theater, 6,500 drive-ins had added restaurants across the country. So that was one thing that they could add, but the pool, it sounded like maybe only this place in Georgia did. Here's one of my favorite ads for Wrigley's, and they always have a recipe. What do you think of this recipe? Sliced salmon salad loaf. I don't know. And the colors are not that appealing. You're going to hollow out a bread loaf, brush it with butter, and toast it in an oven for a while. Now that sounds good, right? They've kind of got me there. And this isn't bad either. You're going to take a can of salmon, put lemon juice, rice, French dressing, mayonnaise, and olives. You know, I thought that they were going to add gelatin eventually. They don't. So I guess it's not that bad. Then they're putting in grapes, hard-boiled eggs, celery, and radishes, and an onion. And then you're packing it solidly in the loaf, it says. Chill it and serve sliced. And then don't forget your Wrigley's gum after. This was an election year. So this is August 1960, just like it's an election year now. And it was Kennedy versus Nixon. And it was the first election that had all 50 states, obviously, because we had gotten 2 new states. So it's interesting. They talk about campaign buttons. And the famous one I think that we can all think of is the I Like Ike. And they spotlight the Green Duck Company in Chicago that made not only campaign buttons, but you know, decorative buttons that might advertise something, a company. Let me give a little article about them. They also made the Cricket clicker that were provided to the troops in World War II. The Green Duck Company of Chicago did. However, they are no longer in business. the fine Italian touch with craft grated Parmesan cheese. And there's a chef up there doing the chef's kiss. Here's Faith Baldwin's article, The Open Door. Well, come on in, it's August again. I wouldn't be fair to you or myself if I didn't tell you that these little pieces are written in advance of the month in which they're published. If you stop and think about it, you know they have to be, because everything takes time. The publishing of a magazine, the birth of a baby, the opening of a flower, or the building of a nest. So she had written this several months before. In August, I would like to sit and knit, only I can't knit, and besides, it would be too hot to bestir oneself in this climate. Lots of my friends go upside down and ski in South America or shiver in Australia during this hot month. Or they flee to the south or the warmer islands in a New England winter, these same people. But in a New England summer, they can go snowshoeing on the other side of the equator. They're lucky. Here's a good old cigarette ad. Old gold spin filter spins and cools the smoke. Really? Look at this complicated drawing they have made. The average temperature of the old gold spin filter smoke is a pleasant 78 degrees. The cooler the smoke, the better the taste. There's two of them. And a fancy lighter. The Lorillard Company. 200 years of tobacco experience. I've never heard of that. Oh, look at that great ad. A lot of yellow. So this is for sun-kissed lemons. A new flavor idea. And a fresh new taste to California cantaloupe. Beautiful lemons. I love that. It is James Reed Parker. His little article. And he tells a story about going in for a surgery. The way he hints about it, I kind of think it's maybe a hernia repair. But he talks about his nephew coming and helping him. And being his companion a lot in the hospital where his family couldn't. And his nephew growing an appreciation for the art of medicine and deciding to pursue a career in it. Here's Swift's premium brown and serve sausage links. They were fully cooked and they show some pineapple. So now ordinary sausage is going to turn up. It is going to take 20 minutes to cook and shrink up to 50%. But Swift's premium brown and serve is ready in 3 minutes. You eat all you buy. This was Swift's premium 105th year. That's how long they've been in business. Long time. Oh, look at this little kid who's dressed up as a bunny. This is back when toilet paper was different colors. Long time ago. And this is Scott Waldorf. So Scott's is still around, but I don't know about Waldorf. And were they kind of alluding to the Waldorf Astoria? I don't know. Waldorf's Gone Soft with new air-puffed softness. So you have pink, aqua, yellow, and white. I almost called it blue. It is not. It is aqua. Roland A. Brown with his gardening tips, how to combat drought. He talks about roses. Roses have two main blooming periods, early summer and early fall, and they're usually sulky and bored in August. Those are beautiful words to be written. I have no roses in my yard. We kind of inherited an old climby rose on a fence line at my son's house when we bought that house, and I really don't know what to do with it. It's very pretty, and I would imagine that it's 70 or 80 years old. Maybe I'll make an attempt to do more with it next year, but it's the only rose I've ever had custodianship of. Here is the Chef Boyardee spaghetti dinner sauce with meat. This was in a box, 8 ounces of spaghetti, sauce with meat and grated cheese. You could also get it with mushrooms. I'm going to try it. Ooh, look at this pretty eye. Maybelline specializes exclusively in everything to make eyes beautiful. Magic mascara, a solid mascara. It came in a compact, and I suppose you would get a brush to put it on. I don't think you could put it on with your fingers. Cream mascara, a self-sharpening eyebrow pencil, an eyeshadow stick. Look at that blue. Ooh la la. Fluid eyeliner, eyeliner pencil, an eyelash curler, brow mesh, brush and comb, and eyebrow tweezers. And here comes our first story, The Flowered Teapot by Donna Stark Thompson. And Donna Stark Thompson lived to the ripe old age of 90. She died in 2019. She was a long-time Alaskan resident. And she's an interesting person to read about. She was an activist and a business owner and an author. But here we have The Flowered Teapot, and I read it. I often read these little stories that come in the magazines. They're pretty good. They're well written. However, I have to say, in this particular magazine, they were all very sad. And one in particular that's coming, I think I sat and cried. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know, but it certainly evoked emotion. You know, it evoked a lot of things, and I won't get into too much. It kind of showcased, I think, in this case, the main female character has a mother who gets older and she cannot take care of her house anymore. And the males of the family are against grandma coming and living with anybody because they say they don't have room. So they put grandma in a home. And one of the few things she takes is her flowered teapot. And her daughter comes to visit her and I think is very sad that maybe she didn't stand up for her mom a little bit more and rally for a place in somebody's home for her. That's what I took away from it anyway, because the daughter became very sad about her mother's situation when she visited her. Once the teapot sat in a kitchen warm with love and laughter. Now you will find it in a bedroom tiny and heartbreakingly empty. Need I go on? It's very well written, though. This is by Mary Ann Gibbs. I love the artwork. The Shorn Lamb. this was a very good story too, but again, very sad. It was about a lady, and here they are. It's about a couple, really, and their relationship that spans over years. They fall in love. He's kind of a struggling artist. They have a home that he inherited, but it's a very old house, and it's not got the best upgrades. It's a little tattered, but she loves him, and they have children there, and they're very happy. She is somewhat financially dependent here and there on a rich aunt, though, for her kids, because the aunt can give them some money for a private school or piano lessons. And the dad eventually gets offered a job in an ad agency to draw ads like these pictures we see. But there's a twist. Suddenly and surely she knew she couldn't go on pretending that everything about her marriage was lovely. Harry is the guy that offered him the job, and he says, "I wouldn't work in Harry's office," he says to his wife, "because the fellow's in love with you, Susie." And the guy was. He kept coming over to visit Susie. He ends up taking a job, though, with no strings attached with Miss Susie here. And the aunt dies. She inherits a bunch of money. And he says, "Susie, let's go to Italy. We're going to take the trip of a lifetime." But Susie stands up for herself and the family and says, "You know what? I love you, but let's fix up our house and put the money away for the kids, because I don't have any more aunts that are going to leave me all this money. We must be sensible." But I love the artwork, and it's a good story. So the shorn lamb, it kind of speaks to a proverb. It doesn't kind of speak to it, it is it. So God mercifully ensures that misfortune does not overwhelm the weak or helpless, meaning the shorn lamb. I love these old stories. I get a little too wrapped up and a little too, and this one's sad too. Marjorie Sharp. Which lady was that? So Miriam Gibbs. She wrote books from 1950 to 1982. And one of her most famous books, I loved this title, was A Young Man with Ideas. So Marjorie Sharp. She was British. And she wrote The Rescuers. That was her most famous book. She wrote a lot of other things too, including this story about a ballerina, beautiful ballerina. She had found a world in which she truly belonged. Our title young lady here loved ballet. She loved it. It was her thing, but the leader of the ballet school says she's too tall. So it's thrusting out of that world forever. Madame V. Even was the director. So the madam informed her, "My dear child, there is something I must tell you. I've written to your parents already about this," she says, "but because you yourself have shown so much talent and such a good will to work, I will tell you personally too. You are too tall." This is Mary. Mary says, "Well, I've tried not to be." So Mary must find a new passion, She's just heartbroken about this because this meant everything to her. The story turns out good for Mary, though. This is by Keith Winter, and it's young music. And again, look at the wonderful illustrations. We've got a young lady with her pink telephone and a young man with his yellow telephone. If Dad's in, act young, dumb, and harmless, Tammy said. Oh, I will, Dirk said, frantic with fear that their conversation would be overheard. Well, Dirk, the story fleshes out, he's got a very overbearing older brother that bosses him around a lot and wards over him. And a new family of girls moves into town. This is the younger one, and she's got an older sister that's just a goddess. And Dirk has an eye for the sister, but these two somehow meet out walking, and they develop a little friendship. He's got his eyes on sister, though. And as the story develops, she cooks him a dinner, and he wants to go over there to visit the sister. But the sister's out. She's at a dance. And oh boy, lo and behold, the sister is at a dance where he knows his brother is. And he's very worried that his brother is going to swoop in and take his girlfriend. So they rush to the dance, and everything turns out. He ends up with the little sister. She doesn't seem that little, and let's just say hopefully they're both about the same age. This is by Harriet Pratt, and it's Julia. And it's another story about an aging mom, but this one has a doting son. The mother is very, I'm not going to say manipulative, but I would say conniving. Let's put it this way. Julia here is always way ahead of the wife. Julia needs to change living arrangements, though, and she wants the couple and the children to move in with her, but she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to uproot her family. Sometimes a wife has to stop running long enough to face the other woman in her husband's life. Suddenly she realized that Pete's attitude towards Julia was a complex of admiration, respect, and amusement. And it's another good story. This Keith Winter, he was born in Wales, but he died in New Jersey. He wrote many books and screenplays. So let's look at the back-to-school clothes. They're adorable, I will tell you that much. But this is no catalog where we're going to look these up and it's however much. These are sewing lessons. Look at how cute this little girl is with her little bangs. So these are basic coats, and they have roller skates on, and they flare. They've got the most gorgeous little collars and the most adorable little hats, and they have white gloves on. These are simplicity patterns. Gold for the older girl in a basket weave wool, and bright red and a wool and nylon flannel. Oh, my heart. The suit and the jumper. A two-piece outfit. Are they all simplicity? They are. Women's Day must have had a little deal with simplicity, huh? The little metal buttons. These are cotton. And the little girl has a heart and flowers print. Sunday school dresses. I had a dress very similar to this. This would have been in the 70s, though. Mine was ankle length, though, because, you know, long dresses were in back then. And it was a very similar, well, it was yellow with little red hearts, And the rickrack was white, and it was long, but it was very similar to this. So this is a demure calico with rickrack. And the little girl has a make-believe bib. Look at the dog. It looks like the dog from the Brady Bunch. So these are shirtwaist dresses. They're tailored just like a grown-up's, with pointed collars, roll-up cuffs, and trim front buttonings. I'm assuming they're cotton. Wouldn't you assume they're cotton? Thank goodness I never had to make any of my boys' clothes. Thank goodness for them. I have a neighbor who, her kids are grown, but she sits in this, we all have very similar colonial houses in a row, and we all have one very small bedroom that is one out of the three. And I use mine as my office. I have for many years because I work at home. And I know she uses hers as a sewing room because I can see her up there in the window sewing at night. So she's a little older than me, but I know she still sews outfits. She is a performer too, so she probably sews costumes. Carefree cooking. So we have 8 menus, complete with recipes for the woman who wants to be carefree, but not careless. Of course not. About feeding her family and friends. Look at that. I love the fruit bowl, and I love the cruets with the oil and vinegar, but I don't know about this. This is a lobster tail and rice salad, and you're serving it with a foil toasted French bread and fresh fruit. I just don't know about that. I would probably eat it, but let's see if there's something maybe a little bit more appealing. How about this either? That's the pressed lamb loaf, which you can cook a day ahead, and you're serving it with potato salad and minted cucumbers. And looks like some maybe garden fresh tomatoes for people that grow tomatoes and have too many. I was walking the other day in my neighborhood, and somebody who I kind of know, she's got a huge garden. She ran out of her house and she said, "Will you please take some tomatoes?" And she handed me a grocery bag full of tomatoes. And I said, "Well, sure, you know." I said, "You have a lovely garden." She says, "I have too many tomatoes." And I bet you it would have happened again, but I have been walking in my son's neighborhood. So I'll do a video on his neighborhood. You can see a little difference from my walks. They're in the same city, but it's different houses to look at. And I was just thinking about it today. My walk has definitely changed. Stuffed beef rolls, that would go over well here, but I would never be able to make that. That fruit thing seems very complicated to me. So the stuffed beef rolls are made in advance and reheated while the noodles boil. And of course, cold baked chicken. Now, this is more my speed. Chicken and corn on the cob. It's pretty easy. Oh, blueberries. Yummy, yummy. And the little booklet this month, the collector's cookbook, is blueberries. And it always has such a wonderful illustration on it. A blue bird on top of a blueberry bush. Look at all the wonderful recipes. Blueberry muffins, blueberry cottage cheesecake, a lattice pie, parfait, deep dish pie, is that? A tart, flummery, shortcake, blueberry orange bread, blueberry peach meringue, blueberry pancakes, and blueberry sauce. This would be a catastrophe in my hands, but I think I could handle everything, and maybe that too. But I want it all. I would eat it all. So here are the recipes for the blueberry things. But what is always so special about these magazines, they're precious. They're precious little things. These have little poems in here. This is by Emily Dickinson. The morns are meeker than they were. The nuts are getting brown. The berry's cheek is plumper. The rose is out of town. It's just so beautiful. You have these recipes, and then here's Shakespeare. I'm on a little Shakespeare kick lately. I'm on a Macbeth kick, actually. Let's see what this little quote is. Wholesome berries thrive and ripen best, neighbored by fruit of baser quality. I had to look up baser. I'm not going to lie. It means of little or no value. Because that's my things with Shakespeare, the Shakespeare speak. I don't get it. I have to. That's why I'm trying to study it. Doing all right with it. This is by John Milton. From many a berry and from sweet kernels pressed, she tempers dulcet creams. This is by Thomas Campion. There is a garden in her face where roses and white lilies blow. A heavenly paradise is that place wherein all pleasant fruits do flow. I couldn't even think of a ditty for the contest. Although I'm looking at this piece of paper, and I had written something down probably a month ago. This is what I would have written for the Beads of Bleach contest. I'm going to read it since I actually wrote something down. I would have written, I would use beads of bleach in my new washer because I have confidence the strength of beads of bleach can eliminate the toughest stains. I remember one of the tips in that book to winning contests is mention the product name and mention superlatives. That's how that lady won all those contests. And the cutest thing in that movie too is she finds people, housewives, that enter these contests, and they have a little club. And Laura Dern is the leader. It's very good, but I won't go on about it. So this is by Lord Byron. He turned a fruit to an enchantment, which cheers the sad, revives the old, inspires the young. This is by Ralph Hodgson. Eve, with her basket, was deep in the bells and grass, wading in bells and grass up to her knees, plucking a dish of sweet berries and plums to eat, down in the bells and grass under the trees. This is by Nancy Dennis Sproat. Why, Phoebe, are you come so soon? Where are your berries, child? Here we have our good eating on a budget with all of the days of the week in August, all 31 of them, with pretty much everything represented. Your appetizer, main course, dessert. Some of it's simple, just hot dog. Some of it's not simple. So here are some tips to keep cool, and take care of yourself. Keep it neat with your hair. Your best air-cooled coif is one that's off the back of your neck and easily handled, so you can shampoo and set it yourself. For your body, fragrance can refresh you.
Shelve those heavy and musky perfumes that you've been using all winter and go for lighter, fresher scents or toilet waters. Water, water, water. Use it everywhere. Keep yourself clean. Drink water. Splash water on your skin. Blot water on your skin. Since it's harder to look fresh and crisp now than any other time of the year, the first cool rule is to keep your pristine prettiness by frequent face washing. Here comes the ice cream man. I don't know if you can hear him outside. Cucaracha. Your diet. I'm just going to let it roll here. Your diet. Drink lots of water. Oh, I hear some kids screaming. I think I even heard a car pull up. What's going on out there? Oh, yeah, they stopped. So, depending on how many kids are outside my house, we might hear some screaming. But maybe they'll just start eating their ice cream and go to the park. Be sure to get plenty of sleep and rest. So, not just sleep, sitting down and resting too when it's hot. Probably nobody had air conditioning in 1960. Maybe in some offices and very, very rich people. But I don't even know about that, to be honest with you. So, if it was really hot out, we probably just rested. You didn't have to push through. So, another thing to keep cool about is your outlook. Haste is heating, and so is emotion. So, rather than hurry, get up earlier and allow more time for chores. Plan them for the cooler part of the day. Avoid words like scorcher, wilted, sizzling, and all wrung out. Those touchy teens. Oh boy, look at this guy. This is by Margaret Fishback. They are little poems that Margaret has written and the wonderful illustrations. Here's Paradox, and we see maybe a dressing table. How can teenagers look so neat as they go prancing down the street in trousers creased or starchy dresses when they've left their room in such messes? Free admission, he dotes on meat, despises greens. This lad I cannot tame. Is this because he's in his teens? Heck no, I feel the same. To a distant college freshman, the gas tank doesn't seem to leak. I haven't filled it in a week. The phone bill's noticeably small. The roast beef lasts, and that's not all. The TV's quiet as a mouse. Would you call this a tomb or a house? Are these bright college days, my boy? For me, they do not teem with joy. Oh, that's sad. Oh, look at these two. They're in love. The ice cream man. Complaint department. Chickenpox and measles were nuisances, but I prefer pests for which the doctor's ready to attacks of going steady. Ooh, look at that one with the makeup. Pray do not call it a disgrace when daughter messes up her face with clumsy makeup. Also, try your hardest not to bat an eye if suddenly she isn't flat. Don't call the wistful child a brat because she thinks that falsies are the way of wishing upon a star. But the illustrations are wonderful. So these were America's Treasure Towns. This is 17th in a series, and they were spotlight in Provincetown, Massachusetts. They also included a little recipe here for Cape Cod clam chowder, in which you are starting with salt pork, 1/4 pound. Seems pretty simple. Using fresh clams, onions, some potatoes, and then you're making a sauce with butter, flour, milk, lots of milk, salt, sugar, pepper, rosemary, and thyme. Clam chowder actually seems pretty easy to make. You want to know what else is easier? Buying chunky soup. I'm just saying, I've never made clam chowder. I've worked at a lot of restaurants that have served homemade clam chowder. I wonder if they do anymore. We don't go out to eat much. So let's look at the elegant stairway of a Provence shop, white picket fence, the figurehead house, the Chrysler Art Museum, which was once a church, Pilgrim Lake with its windswept dunes, out at the Race Point Lighthouse, the fishermen's boats, a wooden statue outside of an antique shop, and unloading fish. Provincetown at the sandy tip of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, is proud of its historic role as the first landing place of the Pilgrims in 1620. Alive with the salty spirit of a small New England fishing village and the winning charm of unusual shops and art galleries, it's surrounded by beautiful beaches as serene and remote as an island shore. Here's some more things. And they spotlight different things to do, but who can say if they're still there? I'm sure the historical things are. The restaurants and shops have probably changed, though. So here's the dictionary of furniture. Sounds like we have a little ice cream customer out there. And I'm going to look at this more because we go to these estate sales and I'm trying to learn a little bit more about furniture, but it's kind of complicated. Like that's Duncan Fife, a work table, Chippendale Highboy. I have a dresser that my dad gave me very similar to that. It's not a fancy antique or anything, but it's very pretty and I'm never getting rid of it. English Queen Anne side chair. Oh, an American Pilgrim cradle. This is where things get iffy with me, the Louis. There's a Queen Anne lowboy. This is Louis XVI armchair. And then Hepplewhite secretary. So I'm going to assume that the information in this is factual and that I could study it and learn more, but because how much could this change over the years? This is all English furniture. It just seems very interesting. Georgian furniture, Queen Anne, Chippendale, Sheraton, like the hotel, a Sheraton secretary, Jacobean is another word that comes up. William and Mary, like the college, William and Mary lowboy, a Regency drum table, and all the different years. This is French provincial, Louis XIV, Louis XIV, XVI. I feel like I've learned this. There's Louis XV at some point or studied it. We might have talked about it in French class when I was in high school. I don't know. It's Regents, Directoire, and Empire. Leaf seat. Hi, Yoko. Come on in here, honey. See if she calms down. Pilgrim furniture and William and Mary. So now we're into American furniture. Gate leg table. Little boy. Queen Anne and Chippendale, which are American furniture. I didn't know that. I thought Queen Anne was English. I'm just going to, and Chippendale too, to be honest with you. I guess I need to watch Antiques Roadshow more. These armchairs, the different armchairs. I don't know what a Queen Anne chair looks like. Maybe I did know it was American. Hepplewhite and Sheraton. Sheraton Furniture. The Banjo Clock. Federal. And Duncan Fife. And I hear that all the time, but I would really have to sit and look at all these different things to even know. It was a short time span too. It was 1800 to 1815. There was a return of solidity with the Duncan Fife furniture, a revival of the scrolled line, a new use of metal mounts. Fife was the best and most prolific of many American cabinet makers who worked in the style called by his name, a style based on the Sheraton, but also influenced by English Regency and French Directoire. Victorian. Empire spanned 1815 to 1840, and the Victorian era was 40 years, 1840 to 1880. Oh, look at that chair, velvet. Chicer style. This is more my style, to be honest with you. Simplicity, more country style, Pennsylvania German. And the New England, sensible. We have a rocker just like that. That's a Boston rocker. It's huge. I can barely lift it. And the Windsor, which would be my dining room chairs. Probably a lot of people. An oak, a big oak table I have. Now we're coming upon one of my most favorite ads of the magazine. It's for Campbell's soup. So we have 3 soups being used: cream of celery, cream of chicken, and tomato. We're making super salads with them though. Look at that, creamy tuna salad. And it's made with unflavored gelatin, cream of celery, cream cheese, and tuna. Carrot, parsley. Put it in a mold. I don't know about that. It's the color, and yes, the gelatin. This one's not so bad. Ham macaroni salad. My family would eat this. I would not be able to put those tomatoes on there though. If it had ham in it, they'll eat it. Let's just put it that way. And shrimp lamaz. They'd eat this too, but shrimp lamaz is shrimp, tomato soup with mayonnaise, sweet pickle relish, onion, and mustard. It's basically a sauce that you're putting over shrimp. You're eating a marshmallow. Campfire full-size marshmallows that kids like best and toast most. In the Stay Fresh package, it came in 3 sealed boxes. Boy, they took their marshmallows seriously. And there's a little corn aisle. Let's plan a chicken Q with chicken Q sauce. And this sounded pretty good too, to be honest with you. The chicken Q sauce was corn oil, lemon juice or vinegar, so something acidic, water, salt, pepper, sugar, paprika, and minced onion. Let that, you can let it blend for a little while in a bowl. You can use it as a marinade, or you can baste your chicken with it. Or, my darling, you could do both. This was a good sauce too. What French's does to hamburger should happen on your grill. And they show a meat grinder. Those look delicious. So for the golden barbecue sauce, well, you're starting off with 4 tablespoons of butter. So, and you're putting it on a hamburger. So how could this not be the most delicious thing ever? So 4 tablespoons of butter, some chopped green pepper, onion, mustard, brown sugar, bouillon, and then, your cayenne peppers and salt and whatnot. Sounds delicious to put on your hamburgers. Here is the new Betty Crocker Country Kitchen Cake Mix. And it looks like they've put peaches in a yellow cake. Try yellow cake with whipped cream, fresh peaches, and almonds, it says. Yes, I do want to try that right now. So here's La Choy. So they have an easy, thrifty way to add new glamour to your everyday dishes. And they've got a little diagram here, so let's start with one. That one. Water chestnuts and green beans. You could use La Choy water chestnuts. So down here. Looks like it's a nice salad. A salad with La Choy bean sprouts. This, any creamed dish. This is chicken a la king. But what if you put chow mein noodles around it? And then soup. Try noodles. The chow mein noodles in your soup like you would use them as croutons. It's a very good idea. I think we've seen this ad before. The Del Monte pineapple ads, they're always so beautiful and colorful and green. Look at them. Here's French's parakeet seed. I don't think we've ever seen this. It's such a cute ad with a drawing of a little girl with all of her matching bows. And I don't know what kind of bird that is, because I don't know my birds. Most for your bird, most for your money. It's sesame seeds, cuttlefish bone. I've never had a bird. Soya bean grits, wheat germ. Well, it certainly sounds healthy for your bird. Oh, look at that beautiful frosty strawberry cream pie. And you're making it with Pillsbury's Best flour. And it's egg white, frozen fruit, and whipped cream in your homemade shell. A little guy waiting for it to be done. Continuation of our young music story. I didn't tell the end of the Too Tall story. The girl that was too tall, the ballerina. She goes to a correspondence course. She goes to college to learn to be a secretary. She can't be a ballerina, so she goes to be a secretary. That's the first little clue, and we'll get to it eventually. Here comes a bunch of ads for my grandfather's former employer. They might have been my grandfather's only employer, except in retirement he did go find a job at a drugstore, mainly I think to get away from my grandma. Let's just keep it real here. But he worked at A&P. He was a store manager for his whole career, let's say. And my grandma was a housewife and took care of their 5 kids. So this was Jane Parker's Baked Goods, and they're focusing bread on bread. And all these different beautiful sandwiches that you could make to fill your beautiful, I'm envious of this whole thing here. All the different compartments. My husband would cry if I took him on a picnic and opened up that picnic basket. He'd be like Yogi Bear. White rye wheat and raisin and poppy seed Vienna. Jane Parker. This was Susan Bennett Holmes, and it was A Girl's World, and it was written for young ladies. And they talk about procrastination and how it's in all of us, you know, and envy, which it's in all of us, but how to combat those perfectly normal feelings. And how maybe the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, but it's not. I love this ad for Puss in Boots. Look at that. Look at that label. So cute. And then we have Mommy Cat up here with her little babies. You could order that picture. An 8x10 full color print for $0.25. I'm sending it to Cat Pictures in Chicago, Illinois. And she's putting their kitties in a basket. So Ann Page had some beautiful salad dressings too. Look at that lovely salad. America's dependable food merchant since 1859. Wow. So they have French, Italian, and then it looks like maybe like a Miracle Whip. They had red French and orange French, I think. Oh, and I loved this one, the tea ad. They have a map of India and a Bay of Bengal. And then two beautiful fruits. One of them having a little peel off of it, the orange, and some cloves and mint. But look at the drawing of the glass and how the artist has rendered not frost, but you can tell that it's cold with the ice in it. It's beautiful. Fine teas and coffees for 101 years. I did not realize that A&P was that old. And I think A&P's long gone, isn't it? It's long gone in Michigan. Here are some more of our stories. And here are the different authors. That's the lady that wrote The Rescuers, Marjorie Sharp. Heinz Baby Food. Look at this little guy's little face. Look at that little face. When baby's hand is quicker than your eye. Oh boy. And they have little baby tips, kind of like Gerber does in their ads. I don't think there's a Gerber ad in here though. Ungotine, antiseptic. Here we get into our personal ads, let's say, with your ads for your ailments, for your bunions and your itch and whatnot. You can always rely on GW Pure Sugar. And look at our little housewife there with her little apron. The story of Andrea Fields, Woman and Doctor by Elizabeth Seifert. She had never doubted herself as a doctor or as a woman until the man she loved married someone else. 35 cents, so there were paperbacks back then. So in Too Tall, our Mary, our heroine of the story, let's say, she goes and she becomes a secretary, and she has such a good work ethic, the work ethic that drove her to achieve so much in ballet. But of course she had to leave because she was too tall. So she becomes a great secretary, and the leader, the madam of the ballet school, ends up calling Mary a couple years later Mary says, well, what's going on here, you know? I thought I was too tall. And the madam says, our prima ballerina needs a personal secretary. And I know what a hard worker you are. Come on in and interview. And she gets there and she's doubting herself because she knows that the ladies in front of her are far more multilingual than she is. She only knows a couple languages, but the girls in front of her, they know like 8 languages. She gets very nervous. But she ends up getting the job. And the prima ballerina says, we know that when we are waiting for you in a crowd, like in a train station or a bus station as we travel the world doing my ballet, we know we will see you in a crowd because you're so tall, and you will stand heads and shoulders above the rest. That's why she got the job. But it's a happy ending, and Mary's happy. Look at this little guy. Red Heart dog food. Mostly beef. Fresh beef protein. 3 times more. See the recipe. The stuffed beef rolls were round steak. 2 pounds of round steak cut into 6 pieces. Sprinkle it with tenderizer. Salt and pepper. I was going to say, do you pound it out? Yeah, roll it up and fasten it with toothpicks. Fry it up and put spaghetti sauce on there. Is that it? And then serve it over noodles. Yes, my crowd they would be fighting over that. I might have to buy 3 pounds of round steak. I'm not doing that. I just have a limited meat repertoire. And the only beef I buy, I'm just going to be honest with you, it's ground beef. That's it. And it's been like that a long, long time. It's not because of the grocery store prices. If I made steaks for these guys and my family, they would know something's wrong. So relief varicose veins, $8.35 a pair. It was hosiery, $8.35. Wow, that was made in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, from the Bell Horn Company. That's a lot of money. So here's what's coming up in September. Everything you can do with a chuck roast. Our patterns for our beautiful garments for the kids. Lollipops. Dog stool for lollipops. Oh, next month, the dozen best-selling bazaar aprons. They can be sewn quickly and economically by a group and sold for a substantial profit. More gardening tips. I should read that. It's getting cooler here. I have no excuse not to get out and tame the growth of my yard, the flowers. I have no excuse anymore. It's not hot. It's wrong here. Find 8 things wrong in the scene above and win this exquisite gift box of floral stationery. Well, we could go through, except I tried to do this a couple weeks ago and I got really, my head was spinning. This is by the Artistic Card Company out of Elmira, New York. And it was for people, mainly housewives, to sell greeting cards to make money. And they would make a lot of promises about how much money they could make. Homemade jam and jelly with pen gel. The SS Hope. Out of Washington, D.C., a charitable organization. Mail $1 or more to Hope. They had doctors, dentists, nurses, and technicians to man a 300-bed mobile unit. This is cute. It's at the end, but we can't miss it. This is how cute it is. There's Dennis the Menace. So you think you know Dennis the Menace. All right? And there's 3 little cartoons. We have to match the saying. So the first little saying is, Mom, is people's toothpaste okay for dogs? So I would say that's that one. I don't remember what Dennis the Menace dog name is. It was by Hank Ketchum. So the next one is not a bad party. I busted 6 balloons and a window. I'd say that's that one because they have party hats on. He's talking to his friend. And the third one says, right there on my chest, see? Isn't that a hair? But they were advertising a crust book. It was called Teacher's Threat for $0.25. And it was a paperback. How cute. Here is Irma Treat. Pork and hand meat. So it's kind of like a Spam. Nature makes the meat, armor makes the difference. Oh, look at the treat party sandwiches and all the little shapes of the, like a heart and a spade and a diamond for cards. And the jack. A double protein lunch with treat and cheese. Yes, my husband would love that. He would eat the whole thing. And then we end with a Salem ad. Salem refreshes your taste. Air softens every puff. So many of these ads are so completely different. Like there's a different Salem ad every month. I mean, this was really some people's jobs. And it's usually a couple. And there's usually a dog with them who, at least they're outside and the dog's not like inside with them, inhaling their smoke. And they're both smoking. Sometimes the lady isn't, but in this one, they're both out there puffing away, and hopefully they're responsible and they do not burn the pretty forest down. Okay. That's all. Look at this baby. They don't stay little babies for long though, do they? Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, middle of the night, whatever. I hope you're doing great. Thank you. Bye.